Well, here I am. Which, of course, begs the question, Dave, where have you been? And, well, here's the deal. In addition to being apparently an animator, I'm also what you might call a full stack web developer. And I have been pretty much buried in PHP and JavaScript code for the last several days, so that's where I've been. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually just going to go through at this point we're switching levels from these guys to this level that I drew the other day, and so now it's time to go from conceptual sticks and balls, if you will, to the actual drawings that will get inked. But unfortunately, as so often is the case, OpenToonz has quit working. You can see I'm moving my, see how I'm moving my mouse? Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. It's not drawing. Well, there you go. OpenToonz. How long did this take? Wow, man, this took literally less than 2 minutes today for OpenToonz to die. So, you know, well, like I just said, I'm a full stack developer. Well, what does that mean? What that means is I do a lot of programming. But Dave, you're an animator. You're a filmmaker. You know, why in the world would you waste your time programming? Simple. It's fun. I like it. And it's also useful for customers. So I've been basically boning up on some functionality in PHP that will allow, well, the actual thing I was working on today had to do with interrogating a directory on the web server to get a file listing and have that get fed up from PHP across to JavaScript, because if you don't know this, basically PHP runs on the server and JavaScript runs in the browser. So there's certain things JavaScript cannot do, really. Like file operations. There's just really no way to do a file operation from JavaScript, unless, there technically is actually, but what you would be doing is you would be using either HTML5 variables or cookies or stuff like that to save information in the person's actual browser. For what I'm working with, that's not actually that useful. I need ways to save stuff through the internet onto the server. So that's what I've been fiddling with. And the reason actually started with having to do an upgrade for a client, a site upgrade, if you will. This eraser's way too big. This eraser's way too big. That's better. Okay. Clearly his eyes are wider. As usual, there's a bit of a dance we do between being really meticulously picky about the drawings or the action versus saying, hey, this is going by really, really fast, is the audience actually going to notice this or that? And what I'm referring to specifically here is the distance between his eyes and the size of his eyes. The problem is I'm using a sort of a pencil brush, if you will, one of the My Paint brushes, and so the density or the thickness of the lines that I'm working with really are a little different than the thickness of the lines in the frames that are already inked. So honestly, I can't actually make it look exactly the same. The other guys in the previous drawings, he had a little bigger chin. So yeah, this frame I'm drawing right now, for example, is going to go by really fast. It's like 2 frames. So if he were not 100% exactly perfectly like the other renditions of himself, you're not going to care because it's going to go by too fast. You can't really notice those kinds of details in that kind of a time frame. However, it is something you want to be cognizant of. So it looks like Zuko just threw something on the floor. Zuko is the African gray parrot. And by the way, the best African gray parrot in the world. Oh yeah, he's the best. Okay, so what do we got here? We got this. His hand's got to stay anchored. So ultimately, if we can sort of steal the hand pose from another frame, in other words, only draw it once, that would probably be a good thing. So I'm sort of bearing that in mind. So honestly, I feel like I'm moving a little slow today, but the reason is because I haven't really animated in like 3 days because I've been so busy with programming stuff. I should say one of the other reasons why I do enjoy delving back into programming from time to time comes back to animation, because I've certainly thought about making changes in OpenTunes itself in order to either fix things or improve it. You know, that's a hard decision to make, whether you want to go down that road, because it really is kind of an all or nothing proposition. I mean, I've mentioned in other videos that I got involved not too long ago with the development of Pencil 2D, and you know, it didn't take long to install Qt, otherwise known as Qt, which is the C++ framework that it's built on, which happens, by the way, to be the exact same C++ framework that OpenTunes is built on. They're both built using the same platform, if you will. Qt being a cross-platform C++ library. What does that mean to you? If you're not a programmer, it means that a lot of the basic code to make your program work with the operating system that it's running in is kind of all done for you. And that usually involves a lot of user interface stuff, like widgets of various kinds and things like that. And Qt or Qt, I actually think is quite a good platform. I'm going to actually retreat from. I feel like I'm drawing too many details here. What I really need to do is be a little more sketchy and focus on getting the basic spacing, correct, and then I can come back and tighten up the details later. In other words, it won't do me any good to get the details right if I go back later and look at it and realize that those details are like in the wrong position or something like that. So it's really important to get the spacing correct. Not too worried about the timing. Basically, timing is what sticks and balls are for. When I did this sticks and balls drawing the other day, I kind of got the timing worked out. Okay, so if you actually watch this, I should actually start this. Let's set a start marker there. And oh brother, what do we got here? I guess we'll set the end marker here. Yeah, and like I said, I haven't looked at this in a couple days either. Okay. Yeah, so he's just getting up. There is a bit of an issue here. It looks to me like there's some drawings that are missing, which isn't a big shock. You know, ask yourself this question about your animation software. Does your animation software randomly just like everything's perfect in the file? File meaning, you know, this whole project that we're looking at right now that could contain many scenes. And so basically what I'm saying is everything's perfect. Then you save your work, which is usually the smart thing to do. Kind of stupid not to save your work. You save your work, and then you open up your project later, and mysteriously, it's just like things are missing. Does your animation software do that? Well, if your animation software is OpenTunes, you bet it does. And it doesn't do it once in a while, it does it routinely. That's why actually, and I love OpenTunes. Very capable software. But it's just got some real, it definitely has some real buggy behaviors. And what we just saw is one of them. So to be specific, as I drag down here, you can see how all these are red. And look at that. So there's only 3 keyframes missing. But I can guarantee you and promise you that when I closed this project the other day, they were not missing. And I can also guarantee and promise you that I saved my work. And I can also promise you that I closed and opened the project multiple times that day. And finally, I can also promise you that I really haven't done any other work on this particular machine because while I've been programming, I've been basically working on my laptop. So that means that inexplicably, for no apparent reason, OpenTunes just decided to either forget or delete some of the stuff that I did the other day. How's that possible? Well, believe me, it's possible because it happens like all the time with OpenTunes. That's why I'm actually not upset about it. It's like not unusual in the least. Completely normal behavior for OpenTunes to just like delete stuff. But normally, it's not egregious enough to make you go, okay, that's it, I'm done, I quit, I'm never going to use OpenTunes again. You know, it's just not that damaging. Like, whatever's going on, I can probably recover from fairly quickly. I'm not even going to bother with it right now. That's actually why I'm not bothering with it right now, because I know I can probably fix it. Okay, so, like, I'm not really jamming on this guy's head so much. It's clearly, I'm hitting the control key, by the way, so I can sort of stretch this wide. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, that's not like perfect, but it's better. It's definitely closer. I'm going to go ahead and jump to the next drawing. Okay, so we can see what's going on here. We're going to have to foreshorten that. Now, in my opinion, this looks stupid. And whenever I've drawn something that I realize looks stupid, I usually try to like fix it right away. You know? So this forearm needs to be a little larger. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and deal with this hand. Okay, one of the things you always want to do when you're doing creative work is you want to work from the known to the unknown. So the question is right now, what is known? Well, what's known is we definitely are going to want to erase these lines, so let's get rid of them. Okay, what's unknown? The exact placement of some stuff. Okay, there's his wrist line. Boom. Good. Okay. There's his thumb. His thumb can move a little bit. That's okay. That's not a problem. Not too much. Okay. Basically, these were sort of traced earlier, more or less. Okay, we want to have that. Now you could definitely make the case right now that doing what I'm doing right now is kind of a waste of time, because I would probably do as well or better to just go ahead and go straight from the sticks and balls to a tunes raster level and essentially go straight to ink. In other words, I'm firm enough about what I'm drawing that I don't really have to spend the time to work all the details out here with the pencil. And literally 100% of this is going to get erased later and replaced with ink lines. So, however, having said that, because I haven't drawn much at all in the last few days, I kind of entered the fray today with the mindset that I'm gonna go slow, and I'm gonna do probably a little more than I have to, because I'm just trying to get back in the groove. I mean, that's one of the problems actually with being sort of polymathic. You know, I'm a programmer, I'm an artist, I'm a musician. Speaking of musician, music, film scoring, blah blah blah. Another thing that's consumed time this week is that the my 8th movie. And when I say what I mean is this is a movie that I wrote and directed. And actually I had a fairly sizable role in it, if the truth be known, which I usually don't put myself in my movies. But when we were casting it, several of the cast members were like, "Dave, man, you really should play this part." They were really sure. And I'm like, you really think so? I mean, I guess I could do it. Okay. And so I wound up doing like kind of what Clint Eastwood has done a few times, which is direct yourself. I don't recommend it. Don't direct yourself, especially if you're like me, where you're also dealing with the lights and the cameras and directing the other actors and everything else. You know, it's too much. Directing yourself in a movie is too much. That's my opinion. Sticking to it at this point. But the movie did come out pretty good. And so anyway, it's premiering. I use the term premiere loosely, even though I did have a Hollywood actor in the movie, specifically Sean Young, who's best known for like Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. She was Rachel in Blade Runner, and she's got a role in the film. And so I say I use the term premiere loosely because there really isn't going to be like a red carpet event and all this stuff. It's more like a exclusive limited run at a boutique theater not too far from here. That's basically an opportunity for the cast and crew and stuff to actually see the movie in the theater, which is pretty cool. So it's going to run for 5 days. But beyond that, I mean, it'll be out everywhere here shortly, and hopefully it'll do well. It's a sequel to a movie that did very well, to the tune of about $1 million, which in Hollywood terms obviously is nothing, but it's pretty good for a small, chick flick. It's basically a horse movie, is what it is. About it's all revolves around horses and stuff. So if you're into horse movies, you'd probably think it's okay. You might love it, but you'd almost surely think it was, okay. So anyway, because of this theatrical premiere, that's sort of taken some time too, going and doing like radio interviews and getting certain assets to certain people so that they can promote it and things like that. It's just grunt work, man. It just takes time. It's all good. It's important. You gotta... Okay, it looks like I had the hand come up and then re-land. So I think in this case... But making films is a... Gosh, it's a really... it's a big job. I mean, animating, like I'm doing here, animating a cartoon all by yourself is a big job too, obviously. But it's a little more peaceful, because you're just... It's all you, It's a very singular pursuit. Actually, I think I should really make that like that, and then maybe just, let's see here. Let's try stretching this just a little bit like that. Just trying to feel where it feels natural, kind of thing. Yeah, that's not bad. And then we'll flatten it out there and leave it flat. Okay, so that's cool. So I'm kind of down on filmmaking only because it's basically a pretty high stress activity. So, not complaining. Not everybody gets the opportunity to go make movies. So, in that respect, it's a very cool thing. Let's see. I think something like that would be good. Okay, so this is going to have to be like absurdly foreshortened. Okay, so anyway, the point is that this movie is going to be playing from September 21st through the 26th. And then it's going to get kicked out of the theater by a movie called Littlefoot, I think it is. I don't know if that's a Disney or I think it might be. But it's Littlefoot's coming, so obviously when the Hollywood studios have a movie coming in, they like to kick everybody else out. I don't blame them. It's a small theater. They only have one actual theater anyway. It's not like a multiplex or something, so so let's block this in a little bit. I want to move quickly here. Whoops. Yeah, I just want to really move quickly and get the feeling for, in rough terms, where things really need to go. Now I'm sitting here blabbing, not knowing for sure if this is even going to be a regular YouTube video, because there's definitely part of me that's thinking maybe this should be a speed drawing kind of deal. Okay. Alrighty. I don't know why this is the part of animating that I like. I like just bouncing back and forth between my keys and finding the motion. Okay. Erase, erase, erase. Yeah, so, anyway. If you're in Fort Wayne, Indiana, go see Healed by Grace 2 at AB Cinema in Decatur. And if you're not, then don't. But you could always get it on like Amazon or something. So. His shoulders a little bit too big there. Now I want to look forward a little bit. Yeah, see, there's going to be a real shift here shortly in his weight. Unfortunately, I have to say once again that I am not happy with his face. I'm going to literally just erase it. To me, it doesn't look like the same guy, so, and I'm gonna kind of blame this again on the fact that I haven't been drawing for a few days. I got to get back into my groove. The interesting thing about animating and really just drawing in general is you sort of you just put in these little lines, right, that sort of suggest what's there. And when you're the artist, you see it. I mean, you literally see the drawing. The challenge of this sort of thing is actually to take, you can see it in your head, but you have to get it to come out in your pencil or stylus or whatever it is you're using. And there's a bit of a, let's just say a psychological disconnect between what you see in your head. So it's like you see it, but it's hard to really pin down exactly what it really looks like and then draw it. So in other words, like this, for example. Can you picture a human being in your mind? Picture a person right now. Okay, you see a person in your mind. Now, can you put your pencil down on the paper and draw them? Can you draw an accurate likeness of that person now on paper or on a computer? You probably can't. And the reason you can't is because of this disconnect I'm talking about. There's just a little bit of a disconnect between what you know you see in your head and making it accurately come out in some drawing medium, you know. So right now I'm super focused on small details here, specifically this guy's eye, to the extent that I don't even actually know if I'm so focused on his eye that I don't know if it is sort of working with the rest of his body. That's kind of interesting. Okay, so that's better, but it's still not right. That's a weird thing, actually. It's a weird thing to do. Whoops. Alright, let's try that. Okay, if we're assuming that his eyes are going to become a little bit more angry eyes, then it makes sense, but now the question becomes, why is it not moving? Okay, I just hit the S key. I drew a circle. Well, I drew a shape around this, but the drawing did not update. Did you guys see that? It's like, what the heck is up with that? Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Well, as usual, save early, save often. Now, what I was complaining about earlier, who knows? Maybe I had, because I don't think I have autosave turned on right now. No, I think I do, come to think of it. I remember it bopping on a little while ago, unless my memory is failing me. Okay, that's definitely better. Okay, so, given that we agree that that is better, then let's go ahead and copy that. And let's go here and definitely erase all of this. Okay. And we gotta hit the S key or else Control V won't work. Okay, I'm trying to drag this. I'm thinking slight tilt. Yeah, I like that. Okay. I can live with that. Now there's some garbage in here now that has to be cleaned up. Obviously. So anyway, it is nice to be back in the saddle again. You know, I'm not gonna make another movie anytime soon that unless something really unforeseen came up that really tempted me back in the saddle of making a film. I'm gonna say I'm pretty much done with that for a while. I'm just gonna focus on this anime stuff. The anime stuff is fun because, you know, it's all me. If it doesn't work, it's my fault. I can't blame the actor. I'm the actor. You know, it's 100% up to me to make it work. And if it does work, I can take the credit, I guess. If it doesn't work, I gotta take the blame. Okay, now hold on a second. Yes, no good, no good. I gotta back up a little bit here. Okay. Yeah, okay. I definitely need that indicator in there, so let's do the same thing we've been doing here. Let's grab this, at least so we have it there as a reference. This could be maybe, oops, could maybe stretch it just a little bit, and then we'll hit the old erase tool. Okay, so now what do we have? We've got his knee actually comes up there into view. I believe there's another frame where it comes up. I don't know. It looks like that's where it's going to get anchored, so better make sure this pose is correct, because we're going to have to live with it for a few frames, right? Okay. That's basically how we were doing these guys' feet. Now, I want to say, because in a way this is kind of embarrassing, actually. This anatomy is not like stellar. Like, this arm looks pretty amateurish, frankly. The foreshortening isn't quite selling itself. Yep, there's the autosave I was talking about. Okay, so I think if this is where that line was, I think we need to be higher. Yeah, and then we're going to want to put some indicators in there. Yeah, see, now that's instantly better, because we're just doing a better job of selling the fact that it is in fact foreshortened. Boom, boom. Kick that up there. Okay. Are we going to leave that hand basically as it is? I think so. Okay. So we know where his head is. So let's do this. Let's just do that. Let's put an indicator in there. Okay. Same thing for the shoulder. I'm going to do the same thing for his elbow. Because what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and just paste over these guys. Alright, so we're hitting the S key. So we can select this. Control C. Go to the next frame. Hello. Again, hit the S key and hit Control V. And now the difference is going to be maybe these lines are not going to be quite in the same spot. Okay. Okay, yeah. So this is still going to be fairly foreshortened. Okay, I think that'll work. Okay. So I think for this hand, since we're kind of starting clean here, I think we're going to go ahead and lock this in. This is going to wind up getting copied and pasted across quite a few frames. So I want to make sure I sort of get this pose more or less correct. Okay. Yeah, and right there it flattens out even more, so that's probably okay. Other than his thumb really should be, like I said, flatten out a little more. I'm going to try that one more time. Okay, so that'll be good for a couple frames. Excuse me. Okay. This hip thing doesn't really need to be there anymore. Okay, so it is a good indicator. I think what I really probably should have done is instead of drawing into this level, I probably should have just put the tighter drawing on a second level, but that's okay. I mean, the world will keep turning. So what I'm doing is I'm just actually sort of enforcing the sizing and spacing, making sure it's kind of sort of the way it's supposed to be. Okay. And okay, for some reason, okay, well, I see what's going on. Okay, this is just an OpenTunes bit of stupidity. OpenTunes, when it cuts and pastes with the select key, it does not, when you paste it in, you don't get to retain your selection, which to me is pretty dumb. I mean, I actually can't imagine a scenario where I would cut and paste something into from one frame to another and not want to immediately move it or change it in some way. So you want it to still be selected, is what I'm saying. Okay. So he doesn't look as maybe buff and tough as he probably should be. I'm giving myself a little bit of latitude on that point, though. Again, partly because it's going by really fast, but more so just because it's pretty easy to fix, basically. A little bit of more meat in the shoulders, but I'm glad I did it this way. Like, you know, I'm sort of drawing this Pillsbury Doughboy kind of shapes because it is a good way to sort of block in the action and spacing and make sure things are more or less sized correctly. So now what we got to do is grab all of this, Control C, go to the next frame, and we should be able to just completely erase this. Hit the S key, paste it in, and then we'll go ahead and erase those lines. Okay, and then his little pack that he's carrying would sort of get pushed up that way. Okay, I think I can live with that. Boom, boom. Erase. Now, to be really honest, it's probably a bit arrogant to think that I could have gone straight from this sketch of sticks and balls to ink. The reality is I probably would have had it pretty screwed up. The problem is when you start working with the ink, you're dealing with imagery that's essentially sort of finalized, and it's really easy to get married to whatever you've done. In other words, you get something that looks pretty good, you don't really want to scrap it completely and do it over. But if you haven't done this intermediate step of making sure the drawings are good, then it's actually highly likely that you're going to bump into things that have to be completely redone. Like, for example, what I'm doing right now. If I got the whole thing inked and colored so it all looked like this, and then I realized this strap was in the wrong place, which means I've got to erase, re-ink, repaint. You know, there's some steps involved. It would be really tempting to go, oh, it's okay. Now, I don't claim to be a perfectionist. Obviously, I say many times that we can let this or that go because it goes by really fast. So it's not like I'm anal about everything always being perfect. But there is a certain inertia that makes you want to keep work that is maybe less than stellar because of all the time you have into it. And what I've found is that's a really bad way to think. You cannot think that way, especially with animation. You have to have an attitude that if it needs to be, if you got to go back and redo it, rethink the action, redo the ink, redo whatever, just do it. It is a natural and normal part of the process of doing animation. Is bumping into the redos, you know, the fix-ups. It's just the nature of the beast. Our attitude is nobody gets it right on the first try. From what I've read, the guys at Pixar are pretty good at that, in the sense that they start developing a show or a movie knowing full well that the final version will be absolutely nothing like what they started with. And that's just accepted as part of the natural process of coming up with a good story. Talking about programming earlier, you know, you run into the same thing with programming. It's easy to write a new function or whatever, but it's a bummer when you realize that your design was flawed and you gotta like rethink the whole architecture over again, right? That's not super fun. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think. How long have I been going? 42 minutes. I don't know. Should I do this as a... Okay, let me look at this for a second. Okay, now this guy's supposed to be like super flexible. I think I mentioned earlier going from the known to the unknown. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to go ahead and just zip through here and erase these erroneous overlapped hips, just so I can see better what's actually supposed to be happening, you know? Because this is a fairly acrobatic move. The point I'm getting at here is that his leg really doesn't move much at all between these frames. So therefore, let's just take everything that is definitely known to be repeatable, and let's cut and paste it in. Now right there, his knee changes, so I'm going to leave the knee in there. Alright, I'm going to hit the S key and hit Control V, Control V, Control V. Now, here, I'm going to go ahead and mod this a little bit. And I think I just want it to be a little different. Yeah, a little bit of a change. Okay. E. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of these. Get rid of these. Okay. Now, so we got this curve. Okay, that kind of worked. Okay, so essentially, gosh, I wish OpenTunes would let me. Actually, you know what you can do? I just thought of something. I was just saying I wish I didn't have to keep switching between eraser and brush, but actually what I can do is leave it on brush and switch, just toggle between 1 and 2, which... Okay, so now why is that? Oh, I guess that's not erasing. And unfortunately, I would actually have to toggle between 1 and 8. Oh no, 8 doesn't work either. Oh brother. Okay, forget everything I just said. Forget everything I just said. And by the way, I'm supposed to be using that brush. Okay, I want to keep that thumb anchored there. I want to keep that finger anchored there. Okay. Okay, let's keep that as well. And we'll get that. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is to make this as accurate as possible, and I'm kind of proud of myself actually for this, because this, I didn't really think of this before, but I think this would be good policy, is to treat it as much as possible like this. Just leave it as a solid shape. That looks pretty good. Okay, we got this curve here. Let's bump that over to there. Okay, got the shoulder here, and it's going to crunch in a little bit. So here's his forearm. Pillsbury Doughboy. Elbow. Okay, so this is going to flatten out a little bit. Basically, we want to keep the basic size. Did I just say basic twice in a row? I think I did. I want to keep the sizing pretty consistent on that forearm. It's easy to accidentally make forearms chatter, where they get thicker and thinner from frame to frame. Boom. Boom. Yep. Let's do the same thing here. Okay. I've never really done it this way before. What you guys are seeing right now is kind of a first for me. The way I'm just sort of creating these little lines that block it in like this. This very, I think it's a kind of a good way to do it. Okay, so let's grab this, Control C, Control V, okay, Control Z, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, oops, I'm going to go erase. I'm just going to leave just the hint of the center line right there. Okay, S key and V. That way I can take this. See, now it is selected. Do you see that? Okay, that's interesting. I'm complaining because OpenTunes doesn't retain the selection after you cut and paste, but yet right there it did. Why, that's rather confusing. OpenTunes, I don't understand. Why do you do it this way that time and that way this time? It's enough to drive one patently insane. Yes, patently insane, I say. Okay, so we got this line, this line, this line, this line. Gosh, I'm thinking about really good animators. Like, you know who's a really great animator? Milt Kahl. He was a Disney animator. He animated Shere Khan in the Jungle Book. And Milt Kahl, the thing I like about Milt Kahl, as I do a lot of creative people that I admire, he had this characteristic of kind of doing what I'm talking about, going from the known to the unknown. He would really sit and he would plan out his work. He would really plan it. Before he dove in and started drawing, he'd really get things mapped in. So he knew, so he wasn't really trying to figure out how to do it when he went to do it. It was more just execution. He knew what he had to do. Now, I'm sure this was an ability that developed over many years. He probably didn't start out that way, right? Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Okay, actually, I really like that. I think this is an approach and methodology I want to use more often. See how it's not sketchy? All the lines are real clean. I really like that. I don't know why I like it, but I do. Okay, let's erase this and just let's take what we're learning here and try to apply it. I'm not gonna cut and paste this hand. I'm gonna go ahead and redraw it. Okay, we got to get this. That can be moved, but this can't. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. I like it. I like it. You know, because the goal is to you wanna know that when you're gonna go ink this thing, there's no guessing. You know, there's no, well, what was he trying to draw? You know, no, that's not what you want to do. Okay, in this shot, the ponytail should come back down. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and, just because I don't want to fight with the face, I am gonna go ahead and cut and paste that. Okay, so S key, Control C, S key, Control V, and this time it did not make it a selection. Maybe if I do it this way, maybe if I go immediately without the intermediate step, I go immediately from here to here. No, that still didn't do it. Why does it sometimes do it and sometimes not? Dang. Dang. All right. Okay. Well, if we're gonna try to just, the whole point here is to try to improve my drawing and animating skills. So I'm gonna go ahead and punish myself by making myself redraw this guy over and over, because it's kind of fun to do so, right? Okay. Gives it a little more life, I suppose. See, now it's getting to where I can see in my head, I can see this guy's face better. Now I'm going to actually leave it in sketch form for the moment. Okay, we got a curve here. I like it. I like what's happening. I like the way it feels. Both the process of doing it and the drawings themselves. So, if it's working, it's working. And we're coming up on an hour here, so I'll probably quit at the hour point. Okay, so now I can go ahead and erase this as well. Now, just bearing in mind that the thought was that his shoulder would be more shrugged. Okay. Okay, so what happens there? Is it going to flatten out? Yeah. That's why I drew the lines the way I drew them. Okay, so this needs to be, this is one of those intermediate steps where it would be really easy to follow it up. Okay, yeah, because anchoring right there. So something like that is what would happen. So as I'm doing this, what I'm seeing is that, you know, staying tuned into, like I said, this is what would happen. Staying in tune to the action from a sort of a physics standpoint, or a naturally what would take place here if the guy really moved this way, as opposed to my normal tendency is to try to leverage as much work as possible. So if I drew it once and I like the drawing, I want to copy and paste and use that drawing again. That approach, I don't want to say one's better than the other, actually. It just depends. If stuff is pliable, squishy, like musculature pretty much is pliable and squishy, then you almost want to redraw it. If it's, yeah, I'm liking that. If it's really rigid, like, you know, definitely rigid, then you can probably get away with cutting and pasting more often, right? Okay. And we don't want to lose sight of this. Okay. This is a bit of a distraction from it. Okay, that in there. I think one thing I'm learning to do better is draw things from all angles, if you will. Maybe that's not what I'm trying to say. How do I want to say this? Like drawing a person lying down, so you're basically drawing them sideways, as opposed to actually rotating the canvas so that you don't have to actually draw them laying down. In the earlier scene where a car was laying down, I did exactly that. I rotated the canvas and dealt with it that way. I seem to be moving away from that, moving towards more often trying to just redraw it. Or go ahead and draw it in the awkward position, but still try to draw it reasonably accurately. So what I guess what I'm trying to say is I think I'm getting better at that. I'm getting better at drawing things even from weird angles and, you know, sideways and stuff like that. I'm getting better at seeing the individual contours and just saying, well, I'm not going to become a victim of the symbolism that's in my head. This is something one of my teachers in high school kept telling me, or maybe it was college, I'm not sure, but whoever this teacher was kept saying, you know, you're not drawing what you see, you're drawing symbols that are in your head. How you represent to yourself what you see. Okay, this is a good example of what not to do. That I can use this skull, but I cannot use the facial part of it because it needs to rotate. He needs to be coming around like this. Okay. Erase. What time is it? 1:39. Okay. Not bad. Okay, so there his hand slides. Ah, darn it, I'm going to redraw this hand. Just for the practice. Okay, that's it. We've crossed the hour mark. I'm going to go ahead and save all. Let's go ahead and take a view at what we have so far. Okay, not bad. I mean, that's improvement. It's definitely getting better. And of course, in the shots that are missing, let's go ahead and see if we can solve that right now. What we have is this here. Let's look at these drawings. Previous drawing. Okay, that didn't work. So I guess we need to use the arrows. Yes. Okay, so what's this picture? Okay. So this one should be, doggone it, what is it? I'm going to hit the Q and the W keys. So, like, why is this? The Q and the W keys are not working. What the heck? Okay, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to grab this. So dumb that I have to redo it this way. Okay, so these two shots are fairly obviously going to be here. Okay, nope, that is not right. That is not right. I think I actually... Let's take a look at what happens here with Akari. Yeah, I had... Yeah, these are not right. What I had was a drawing of him standing up What is this? I think that's a drawing that got scrapped. Okay, so what I'm saying is, what's supposed to happen here is, here in the background, we see Ninja number 1 just standing up, and Ninja number 2 struggling to get in. So I'm just thinking, okay, I can basically sort of see this in my head, so I'm just going to try to draw this really quick like this. Alright, so let me, come on, let's hone in here. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. This guy is standing here like this. Okay, I'm not even going to fuss with his pose in terms of exactly how he's standing there, okay? But I think he's supposed to have his hands up, kind of more or less like this. So the point is that what's going on is this right here. This is the action that's of interest. Is Ninja number 2 is struggling to get into the room, and then of course you've got the little table right here with the vase on it. Okay, so I'm going to have to expand the canvas to accommodate that drawing, but and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch this down to here to say, yeah, okay. And of course, I deleted these shots so you wouldn't see the translation, because you see this little question mark here. That's me taking this frame and then resizing it. So we got him, we got Ninja number 2 kicking and struggling here for a minute, which is kind of comedic. And then we jump to this shot where Ninja number 2 is kind of finding his way into the room, which probably this sequence is too long, I would say. But then he reaches with his arm and then boom, he hits this. And then we got this, and then we get into the next shot which we animated last week. So I'm saving all, so let's go jump into this other scene and see if the other one loads back up properly. So this looks pretty good. Okay. And then this guy comes into the shot, which he looks stupid right now because he's got like a post-production shadow effect going on. So, but in any case, so he's nervous, and then they both turn, and Wango Bango, he realizes that Akari's got the knife on him. So honestly, it's looking pretty good. I mean, I'm liking it. It's just that in this scene, the problem that we had before was I had the ninja doing this barrel roll action when he comes into the room. By the way, that looks stupid as well because I've got ink check turned on. That's what it actually looks like. But kind of, sort of, not really, because actually her hair has been modified as well, at least in the other shots. And I guess I need to bring this shot up to date to make sure the hair is accurate. But anyway, let's just see if this loaded properly. Okay, so far everything looks good. Cuts to this, and there it is. There's the other shot, which we will then, I guess right here. Is it here? Ah, here we go. There it is. Okay, so there's the shot we're going to have to edit. Do I need to resize the canvas? I actually don't think I do, because the back of the wall in the background is all going to be in other levels anyway. So I think with that, I think that is actually a good place to stop. So I will pause for now, and I'm sure I'll come back to it later.